So Scorpio, your February 2024 forecast begins with, on screen now, your traditional ruler Mars in your sister water sign of Cancer and still in retrograde. But the great news is that Mars is going to end that on the 24th. But if you have been feeling that you want to open up your life in some ways, but it hasn't really been happening, perhaps part of that is the retrograde, but also the activity in your fourth house, which is where your modern ruler is. And that's very much to do with the internal workings of our lives. Pluto can see us on the fourth house cuff. Consider things like home renovations, redecoration, moving altogether. Some people will want more space, other people will want to downsize. With Mercury in the mix, you could also in Aquarius be thinking or already working from home, but adapting to this new reality. But if it seems rather claustrophobic, Mars in your ninth house perhaps can prime you up to do some research amongst those more emotional and family strands about how you can break out, even if not this month, perhaps later this year. So some research around a vacation is certainly possible, but definitely some improvements or changes around where you live too. But as the month begins, the Sun arcs to Jupiter, the planet of opportunity, which for you starts this month like Mars in a retrograde, but the trine between the Sun and Mars is one of the most productive in astrology. So if you are thinking about raising finance for a property or looking to lease a new rental, that can give you the sense that things could progress, despite the fact that Jupiter starts this month in retrograde. Don't worry, your long-term financial circumstances can improve from the 4th when Jupiter goes direct, and it's going to be in this part of your situation through to the 9th of June. And of course, it has been limited by the anti-risk Saturn. That really was a feature of last year. 18th of August, 24th of December, they were in a square first 2 weeks of this year too. So if you are starting to feel as you go into this month a little more enterprising, it wouldn't be a complete surprise. But you can see there's a whole host of planets in the sign of Pisces, which shares your water triplicity too. First up, we have the moon very close to Saturn. Is there a rather delicate issue, perhaps around a relationship matter, that does need discussion? Because if so, right at the start of this month could be the time that this happens. And part of the reason for that is Venus the relator is in a very constructive alliance with Uranus the freedom lover. At the start of last month they clashed, and that could have led to some tensions if you did feel rather closed in, or perhaps someone was demanding too much of your attention, or a relationship hasn't been working very well. Therefore, the angle between Venus but also Neptune and the node, which can be magical despite that rather intense, serious combination of the moon and Saturn, suggests as they link, certainly in the case of Uranus, that could trigger a new way of looking at a situation that has been rather stuck. And although Mars is in that retrograde at the start of the month, it does forge a very stable alliance with Saturn. So in terms of your desire to manifest your talents and creativity, if you wanted to learn some new skills, Mars in the ninth house together with Saturn suggests you could be very hardworking, but also open to evolving. But that initial link between the moon and Saturn is one to be mindful of. But on the 4th, Venus moves beyond the conjunction between Neptune and the North Node and moves into the sign of Aries. But that backdrop between the North Node and Neptune will go on for the whole of this month. If you are lucky enough to be a creative, an artistic person, or you have friends who can really help you to trip the light fantastic, this could be at times a mesmerising month, but I think it's really going to come to life for you in the latter part of the month once Mercury moves on the 14th and the Sun on the 18th into Pisces. then the rather inner dynamic that's created by those Aquarian influences can make way for a much more gregarious and sociable dimension. Still, having said that, that combination between Neptune and the North Node is a very, very special one for you. So if you've ever thought that you could perhaps paint or enjoy photography, or you're a maker of any kind, or any other kind of activity which helps you to demonstrate your flair, do go for it right through February. However, I did mention that Venus is moving into the 6th. Suggestion from the 4th that when it comes to practical responsibilities or even your work, a little bit of goodwill can be created by thoughtful gestures for sure. But that brings us to the full moon of the 12th. And it does see the sun in that tender 4th house competing with the moon in a very visible part of your situation. If you're not feeling particularly in balance, it's going to be hard to disguise it, particularly as both positions, polarities, are intersected by Uranus, and Uranus in your sector of relating. So whether it's a home, family, or an emotional relationship, or a professional tie that tends to be a bit unpredictable, or is going through a period of change, that can be a very dominating energy over the following 2 weeks of that full moon. But I mentioned before that with Mercury moving on the 14th, Mercury can be a bit tricky in the 4th house. We can tend to circulate thoughts around our mind and find it more difficult to express how we feel. Moving into the 5th, it's more mischievous, it's playful, it's demonstrative. You can find your sense of humour starting to revive, and that will be aided by the sun's arrival on the 18th. A much more sociable dimension comes in, therefore, Scorpio, in the latter part of this month. And I think with your traditional ruler Mars going direct on the 24th, but also angling in an awesome way to Mercury, you might surprise yourself by that travel plan that you were perhaps musing about earlier in the month can suddenly now be ignited, and you may actually be talking to someone about heading off somewhere, and perhaps rather spontaneously. The new moon, which brings the cosmic curtain down on February for you, also has a lot of potential for uplift. But I feel it is important to understand that your modern ruler Pluto is going to be with you in this tender 4th house for a very long time. And if there are certain changes going on in your family life, your deepest emotions, or where you live, they're not going to be easy to resist. That's not how Pluto works. Sometimes Pluto will evolve things for us, whether we like it or not, but it actually can be for the good of us ultimately, but it's very hard to see that at the time. So even if you do have this interlude in the second half of February, which is much more interactive, playful, and fun, and that's great, just be aware that you need to take it back to how things feel. That's going to be a key part of your experience over the next coming years, and it is one that you do need to engage with in a wholesome way. If you've yet to watch your year 2025 deep dive video forecast, please see the link beneath this video. Discover your personal natal horoscope for absolutely free, including the big three of the ascendant, sun and the moon, and the houses they're located in, as well as all the other planetary positions, by downloading your chart by clicking the link underneath this video. Or you can take advantage of my special star choice range, where you buy one horoscope and get the second horoscope free. Please see below for more for that too.